Let me start by saying that some people, I think, are born in the right place and at the right time. And others not so much. In 1922, my 18-year-old grandfather remained in Ukraine as a conscript in the Russian cavalry, while his parents and younger brothers were nestled in the Boston Jewish community as brand new American citizens. An apostate Jew, imbued with the zeal for his adopted religion, accused my grandfather of espionage. They beat him and they threw him in jail in Rovna, which is 200 miles from my grandfather's hometown of Kiev, or Kiev, I suppose they say in the Ukrainian language. Arguably, my grandfather was born in the wrong place at the wrong time. In 1922, the same year, 12-year-old Judith, the eldest of Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan's 4 daughters, became the first American girl to have a bat mitzvah ceremony. It took place at her father's New York synagogue, known aptly as the Society for the Advancement of Judaism. 2 years earlier, American women were legally enfranchised in this country, and Kaplan figured it was time for Jewish women to catch up. So he introduced the ceremony as a corrective to girls' exclusion from Jewish education. And today, as I mentioned, bat mitzvah is a universal expectation across the Jewish spectrum, from secular to ultra-Orthodox, and it has traversed the globe. Surely, I would say, Judith Kaplan was born in the right place and at the right time. 100 years after my grandfather languished behind bars and Judith drove a nail in the coffin of Jewish patriarchy, a bat mitzvah ceremony was in the works in Ukraine as part of the celebration leading to bat mitzvah's centennial on March 18, 2022. A dozen Ukrainian women, ranging in age from 14 to 67, trained for months. More than half of those women came of age during the Soviet era, when Jewish life was scrubbed from the Union of Republics, depriving them and an estimated 2 million additional Jews of a religious rite of passage as adolescents. In the past 3 decades, the country has developed a civic society that empowers its Jews to embrace their religion and culture openly and in harmony with national Ukrainian pride. The bat mitzvah dozen, as I call them, studied with Rabbi Yulia Gree, who was involved in the burgeoning Jewish youth movement after the fall of the USSR, and later enrolled in an affiliate of the Moscow Institute of Jewish Studies, where I taught off and on in the early 1990s. While training to become a rabbi in London at the Leobeck College there, Gree wanted nothing more than to return to serve the resurrected Jewish communities of her homeland. She did in 2014. She is Ukraine's first and only female rabbi so far. You might say it was prophetic that the bat mitzvah participants in Ukraine studied the book of Exodus. The ceremony was to take place on January 29th, just several weeks ago, in the Ukrainian port city of Odessa at Shirat Hayam, a synagogue whose name is a playful riff on the Song of the Sea. According to the biblical account, The Israelites recited this song of the sea after crossing the Red Sea that miraculously parted, leading to deliverance from Pharaoh's pursuing army. On the eve of the bat mitzvah, Putin was amassing troops on Ukraine's border. The executive director of Project Kesher, the American organization spearheading the event, reached out to the 12 participants just before they were about to board trains to Odessa from far-flung cities across Ukraine. We're getting notices that war is brewing, and you don't have to have the bat mitzvah, she warned. You can let it go and do what you need to do to prepare yourselves, your families, for this impending crisis. The response from the participants was unanimous. Absolutely not. No Pharaoh would deter them. When I live streamed the ceremony, I noticed a bright blue box of tissues deployed on the table where the Torah would be unrolled. Each participant rose to take her turn. When the reading was finished, they gathered arm in arm as Rabbi blessed them, as you'll be blessed tomorrow, Jackson. A bulwark of faith against tyranny. Those tissues came in handy. After 8 months, my grandfather escaped from prison thanks to a cunning aunt's bribe. A frightening journey involving a hitched ride in a hay-covered wagon and a duped train conductor offering free passage. My grandfather was deposited at his grandparents' doorstep in Kiev. Once he became an American citizen, my grandfather sailed to the U.S. like a prince. He used to tell us grandkids in his very heavy accent, "I ate a lot on board," he'd say, "but I don't know why I never got sick." 55 years after my grandfather's escape, he and my grandmother, who came from Minsk, Belarus, when she was 1 year old, witnessed me become bat mitzvah at 13. My grandfather's bravery at the right time allowed me to be born at the right place. As tanks roll into Ukraine and an exodus rolls endlessly on, every single bat mitzvah honoree has been accounted for. Those 12 women are scattered now. Some are in Europe, others in Israel, a few in Ukraine still. They connect regularly on WhatsApp to pray for a better place and a better time.